All right, Jessica, let's take a look at your paper. Emily, format first. This looks good. All of this looks good. I see you're going with nightmare based on your quote, which is good. I would love to see this word change, though. I think you could add a different word there that actually plays into the theme a little bit more. Don't ask me what that word is right now off the top of my head, but I feel like don't just like outright say schizophrenia, but try to incorporate some other concept into this nightmare, because I really like the quote. I like where it leads to, so that part is good. I really like the progression, like organizationally. Your introduction is really good. You hit all the steps that you're supposed to hit. One thing I will tell you, though, which is sort of one of those, now that you're a senior, I want you to really work on, and that is making your sentences a little bit more, word choice a little bit better, as well as making it flow a little better. So I'm going to try to read these and kind of hopefully you get the idea. He had the popular symptom of paranoia along with clear hallucinations. His thoughts became disorganized, which that's spelled wrong, due to the state of his mental health. Violent tendencies are a dangerous symptom of paranoia. Schizophrenia is apparent in the play as to how they can be so dangerous. So I really feel like that you have a lot of short, choppy sentences here, with not a lot of, huge words or, $5 words. I feel like you can really punch this up a little bit. Your thesis is fine. I hope that you're going to emphasize this too, about the whole idea of he doesn't really know what he's doing, maybe. I never thought he'd be that way, and not just, oh, he's violent and aggressive, he's violent and aggressive. So hopefully you get back to this concept, because that's really the theme. The other thing I would say to you as well for a rewrite, it is a mental illness that affects several people in the world, so like 4 or 5, that's several. You probably want to be a little bit more specific, and then you can add another outside source that makes you look real smart at the end, or right after that. So it would definitely fix that. All right, so paranoia is your first symptom. Topic sentence needs to be stronger. You can't just say he had a symptom of paranoia throughout the play. Dive into a little bit more. Go back to your theme, right? So you set up, I really like the way that you set up the disease, like all the way up to here is really good. You're setting up exactly what it does to people, so on and so forth. But your support is really weak. He does become paranoid, but I would say it's closer to right after he kills Duncan. He's paranoid of like the whole sleeplessness thing. He's paranoid of all the noises around him, or maybe even the whole Banquo issue gets him more paranoid. But the idea that and that this act alone, no comma, wasn't enough to get him closer to the throne, he doesn't really think about that right off the bat after he kills Duncan, because you slide right into another right after. The guards were murdered next because Macbeth thought that they wouldn't be loyal to him. I don't think that was the case at all. He murdered him because they could have pinned the crime on him, not that he didn't think that they were going to be loyal to him eventually. So I don't think that's necessarily a true statement either. And this is all you're getting into with the thesis statement. So you're really lacking a strong connection to the thesis statement as well. So better support, better connection to the thesis, better transition statement. This is your transition statement, which should be closer to here, but it's also really weak. I mean, it's literally 7 words. You got to have a much stronger transition statement. All right. So again, I really like how you kind of set up the idea of the symptom, set up the you actually have a quote from the play now, which is good. Wording again, when he had gone to kill Duncan, he had a clear, just say maybe when he went to kill Duncan, or before he killed Duncan, he had a clear vision, something like that. Just clean up the wording a little bit. But all you're saying is plot. Although I like that idea that it's as if telling to fulfill his prophecy, which is a really interesting concept, except you don't talk about it anymore. You end it right there and then move on to the next thing. Talk about this idea, because hopefully it has to do with hallucinations, their symptoms, and where you're going with your thesis statement. And again, you get down here, and yes, it led to him violently, but this is all you're getting for any kind of connection to the thesis. It can't be just one little sentence that's a repeat or nothing additional onto the thesis statement. You got to add on to that. Another weak transition statement. But I like the idea of his thoughts unclear. That's not part of your thesis statement, but I like that idea because he's definitely, all these symptoms are causing him not to think clearly, but that wasn't your thesis statement either. So if you can add more into that, that might be a way to go, though. All right, so now we move on to thought disorders, which I wouldn't say that Macbeth doesn't suffer from this, but I don't think this sets up well enough how it relates to Macbeth. I guess the whole disorganized, not leaving the daggers isn't a bad start. Although he knew the plane, didn't remember to leave them. And then your next sentence almost seems like it's right after that, but it's not. He then starts to think that if he would kill all of the people in line of the throne, his prophecies will become true. But that doesn't really happen at the beginning of the play, so I'm not sure where you're going with that. At the beginning of the play, comma, so you have two prepositional phrases. He wouldn't have thought this was acceptable, but violent tendencies were becoming an obvious symptom of his illness. This is a much better transitional statement, Jessica, so this is a really good one. Notice how long it is. Notice it kind of encompasses everything. I actually think it could be stronger in some ways with this end part here. I think it'd be a little bit more specific here at the end, but for the most part, it's a good transitional statement. But going back to this paragraph, you don't have a ton of support for this. The only quote you have is basically a plot quote. So you need to work on that. You don't have any end punctuation here, though. You want to work on putting some end punctuation up there in that quote. So act of crimes and aggression is the next one, which I would think this is the most obvious one. But I still don't know if you have a really good grasp on the support for this. So I like the idea that they wouldn't have done this before that, which, you talk about earlier, and then you go back to your thesis, which your thesis is, this is what I told you, it would be nice if you touched on that he never thought he'd be. I like that idea, but you don't really touch on it on most of the body paragraphs. But you do here, which is good, but you don't explain it a whole lot. Don't use the word very, so get rid of that. But notice, again, I'll try to point these out as best I can. Look at all the short, choppy sentences. Here's that sentence. Here's this sentence. Here's this sentence down to here. This sentence goes down to here. This sentence only goes to here. A lot of short, choppy sentences. You're really going to want to create some longer sentences by adding a comma conjunction or extending them. Something, Jessica, to get that sentence length varied. But your support for this is killing Duncan and Banquo, which you don't get very specific with, and even bringing Lady Macbeth that doesn't have anything to do with this. Killing Macduff's family, and then, but all you say about the Macduff family is the two men had once been loyal to one another, but now Macbeth's violence has hindered that trust. Yeah, that's kind of an understatement when you kill somebody's family. So there's, and I like you're kind of going back to what they used to be, I guess. So you're trying to tie in the thesis a little bit, but I don't think it's clear yet. I don't think you have made those strong connections yet with your support. Remember, when you have that quote, the end punctuation goes down here, so make sure you fix that. So, conclusion, restate your main points. Restate your thesis, restate your main points. No comma here. You don't need had hallucinated, or times that Macbeth hallucinated visions. You don't need a comma here. So became the person who was at the end of William Shakespeare's Macbeth. You wouldn't normally, this is possessive. You wouldn't normally put a comma between something that was possessive and what it's possessing. So don't put a comma there. But the great part is, you go back to the theme at the end. It's something he never expected to do. But yet, again, I don't think all your body paragraphs really dive into that a whole lot, and how that's something way out of his realm. So I think you can really add some more stuff in there. You got the basis for it. You just got to add the rest in. Okay. This looks good. Everything in your Works Cited page looks good. I think you did cite all those sources, so that's good. So that's a step in the right direction, Jessica. So I like where you're going. You just need to get there a little bit more in depth. So good start. Hopefully we'll see a rewrite from you.